Hello and happy Wednesday, everybody. Here's what's coming up tonight on Now. A judge has officially declared Ayla Reynolds dead. We'll tell you what that means and what possibly will be next.
Plus, our continuing coverage of what's happening at LuLaRoe. We're actually speaking with consultants in Maine now who are happy with what they're doing.
And it's National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. We'll take you to a clothing company that's trying to make a difference.
This is News Center now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to News Center Now. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Amanda Hill. We are getting right to it tonight. The toddler who disappeared almost 6 years ago was officially declared dead by a judge. Now her mother hopes she can finally find out what happened to her little girl. Ayla Reynolds' disappearance has been a cold case for years. The judge declared her time of death on or around December 17, 2011, when she was last seen with her father, Justin DePietro, as well as his sister and ex-girlfriend. DePietro told police that Ayla was abducted, but investigators say there is no evidence to support that claim.
All right, so what does all this mean? Chris Costa is here now to help explain how this might help Ayla's mother, Trista, finally get some of these answers she's been looking for.
Yeah, Lee and Amanda, today I spoke with James Burke. He's a clinical professor of law at the University of Maine School of Law. He says the court's declaration that Ayla is legally dead is an important first step. It now allows Trista to start a wrongful death lawsuit against DePietro. They were not able to do that without proof of Ayla's death. Now, this declaration does not guarantee a win in that case, though. It allows them to get people to testify under oath, and that could bring new information. The lawyers could ask questions that could lead to answers about if and or how Ayla died, even if those people plead the fifth.
So the court can therefore draw an inference that the answer would have been, I did something.
Right.
Because you can only claim a Fifth Amendment right if the answer could hurt you. So in the civil suit, they can draw a negative inference if the work is done correctly.
Burke said that even if the court does choose to draw that conclusion, that information could not be used in a criminal case, but it's possible that details discovered during that under oath testimony could point investigators to potential new leads.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, and obviously this is what she's been looking for,
right.
You know, so a good step for her, I guess, in that regard. So,
Yep.
All right, Chris, thank you very much, sir.
All right, Governor LePage has threatened to fire sheriffs who will not comply with orders from ICE to detain immigrants. LePage made those comments on his weekly radio show.
Now, yesterday he sent a letter to all 16 sheriffs telling them to follow through with any orders from the federal agency. Some county officials in Maine responded saying they will not hold immigrants without a warrant.
Governor LePage is very adamant about his power to remove sheriffs if they don't follow his orders or any orders from ICE. LePage says this is not about any particular immigrant group. Instead, the governor says he simply wants them to cooperate with state and federal agencies on immigration policies. He referred to an executive order from 2011 that says the state must do its duty and work cooperatively at the federal, state, and local level to enforce the laws that maintain our nation's sovereignty and keep us safe. Now, the governor says he would rather come to an understanding with sheriffs in York and Cumberland counties than fire them.
Tell them to read the Constitution of the state of Maine and look at the executive order that was put out in 2011 that you will uphold the laws of the state of Maine and the federal government. We are not a sanctuary state. And if you choose not to, then find another job.
Gotcha. So you have the power to remove them if they...
That's right. I don't plan to. I don't want to. I'm just telling the sheriffs that I want to work with you.
Now, the governor also reiterated that according to state law, sheriffs must obey all orders relating to law enforcement which they receive from the governor, saying even if they don't want to obey ICE, they have to obey him. Other news now, 2 more fatal crashes on Maine roads this morning brings the number of deaths to 123 as of today. That's according to the Department of Public Safety.
Yeah, an early morning crash killed a pedestrian in Poland, and a motorcycle crash this morning in Augusta killed a 33-year-old man from Hollowell. Those are the latest to add to these totals. According to the Bureau of Highway Safety, these 123 deaths are significantly higher than the 105 deaths over the same period last year.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the trends trends here. Fatal crashes involving motorcycles are up 19 so far this year, according to DPS. The Maine Bureau of Highway Safety said there were 22 fatal car crashes in August, 23 in September. It's almost one a day.
The trends there, males in their mid-40s were primarily the victims. Speed was a factor in almost all of the crashes, and many of them involved cars leaving the road. The director of the Maine Bureau of Highway Safety says there's also been a general increase in people crossing over into the wrong direction of traffic. She thinks distracted driving is going up.
These are people, these are real people, they're not just numbers. They're not just statistics to us. Every one of those people has a name, they have a family, they have children, they're somebody's mother, father, brother, sister. Our mission is to reduce those crashes and keep people alive and get them where they're supposed to go.
Police are searching for a hit-and-run suspect, or they did search for hours last night after a pedestrian was killed in Westbrook. Police say they have arrested Natasha Field of Standish late yesterday. She faces 2 charges, including leaving the scene of an accident. All right, we might be getting a break from this record-breaking heat.
Keith Carson joins us for a first look at the forecast. Keith, we're not complaining, though.
No, but a lot of people are. A lot of people are, and we're going to start to cool down here in just a second. Let me back up and start where I wanted to start here, which is that it's still warm. Temperatures are in the mid-80s. Look at Lewiston, 86 right now. This is late afternoon in late September. Pretty crazy. 77 in Portland. Cooler over the mid-coast. Here are the dew points here in the mid and upper 60s. Starting to see some of that drier air working in Berlin, New Hampshire, and it will move in tonight as a cold front approaches. There's the front right now, looking relatively healthy towards Quebec City, but a lot of this will fall apart tonight as it approaches our neck of the woods. So a scattered shower, rumble of thunder overnight. That ushers in the cooler air, and also, very importantly, ushers Maria out to sea to the north and east, so that storm will not impact us. I have heard there's some pretty good swells out there, and just need to be careful with the rip currents because of Maria's proximity. But overall, it's going to be falling temperatures through the day tomorrow. We actually will start around 70, but temperatures will stay there through the day, if not fall a bit in the mountains into the 50s, and it gets even cooler as we head into Friday. Take a look at Friday morning, just gives you an idea of where we're going with this. A lot of 40s and some 30s out there, guys. So we're going to go from very warm to more seasonable in just about 24 hours.
Dropping right down.
Casey, thank you very much. All right, we've brought you horror stories from consultants trying to get out of LuLaRoe, the clothing company where people buy in and sell their merchandise out of their own homes, hoping obviously to make a profit.
Thousands who reached out to us online are frustrated after the company abruptly ended a 100% buyback policy, which left a lot of consultants going out of business in serious debt. But there are some who say the company has changed their lives for the better.
In fact, there are 567 current consultants selling just in the state of Maine. Christina Rex spoke with one of them.
This is one of my other favorite dresses. It's the Amelia dress.
For Kim Goulet of Auburn, it all started with the product itself. Right after having a baby, she was struggling to find clothes to wear, until she says her friend brought her to a LuLaRoe party.
I fell in love immediately. I was like, there are hundreds of women like wanting these clothes. Like, how do I sign up? Where do I start?
So she bought in a $5,000 investment and 300 clothing items shipped to her door. The business venture was a big decision for this already busy mom.
I'm still in the Air Force. I work out of Bangor. You know, I'm a traditional guardsman, so I'm up there frequently. And then I still waitress. I waitress about 3 to 4 nights a week, and then I'm in school full time.
But Goulet says her $5,000 investment was paid off in the first 6 months, and her business only took off from there with a healthy monthly paycheck.
So I was bringing home about $5,000. That was just straight profit.
She says what you get out of LuLaRoe depends on how much work you put in, a common misconception among LuLaRoe newcomers.
So a lot of women went into the business thinking that they could just post it online and on Facebook, and it would immediately sell to hundreds of different women around the world or around the country. It's not that easy. Right. You have to put the work into it.
Goulet thinks this confusion is why so many women aren't seeing the same success she is.
I'm kind of sad about it because I love the company, and I feel like a lot of people look negatively on the company, but the company's still really new. It's only 4 years old.
While others may be frustrated and leaving the company with thousands of dollars in debt, Goulet says selling LuLaRoe has only made her life easier.
It pays for my daughter to go to daycare 2 days a week. It's helped us financially. It's helped me stay home, and I got to take a trip out to California for almost a week. I don't see it ending, at least for me, anywhere in the near future.
In Auburn, Christina Rex, News Center.
Goulet also sponsors 2 other women in Maine. She says that means she gets about 3% of their sales, but only if she is selling clothes as well.
A major insurance provider says it will not offer coverage through Obamacare in Maine starting next year. Why they decided to leave the marketplace next.
And new evidence could help researchers studying the dangerous brain disorder CTE. We'll explain later on Now.
Mainers purchasing health care coverage through Obamacare will now only have 2 choices after Anthem announced it will no longer offer insurance on the Maine marketplace in 2018. Anthem has already pulled out of several states, citing volatility in Washington and the future of the healthcare marketplace. Anyone who's already signed up with Anthem can stick with their plan, but they will lose any federal aid that comes from Obamacare. The insurance provider will continue to cover anyone who has health care through their employer.
Most of you on Facebook saying you're not really surprised here. Trish says Anthem is giving up on Maine because they aren't making enough profit, nickeling and diming their customers. Michael says this is the beginning of the end for Obamacare. The faster insurance companies pull out, the faster we return to open markets. And a number of you are demanding answers from Maine Senator Susan Collins, who promised to vote against the Graham-Cassidy plan to start repealing and replacing Obamacare. Her pledge effectively killed the bill.
Even the governor calling out Senator Collins today, saying in a statement that she was wrong about cuts to Medicaid and coverage for pre-existing conditions.
Now, Senator Collins responded, saying Anthem has made clear that its decision is a result of the uncertainty created by the failure to make cost-sharing reduction payments. The Graham-Cassidy proposal, which Anthem and other insurers opposed, did not provide the certainty they needed to stay in the market. Still to come on Now.
If you read the detailed allegations in the 3 complaints, totaling over 100 pages, you will find yourselves in the dark underbelly of college basketball.
Investigators say a former Boston Celtics coach is involved in a corruption and bribery scheme. It's a big one. Details when we come back.
And the Heat takes a hiatus, but it could be back again soon. Keith Carson has the full forecast coming up.
September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and each week during this month we've been showcasing a different group that is championing that cause.
Catalyst for Change is a clothing company that's owned by Maine native Kyle Passagne. He gives a portion of his monthly proceeds to the Maine chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Then in the month of September, he designed specific clothing to help raise awareness for the cause. This is the 4th year Catalyst for Change has decided this was one movement the company really needed to get behind.
Every time we sell an item, thousands of items have gone out this year. There's an information packet that comes and a card that tells people, where they can reach out for help, who we give our money to. So it's something that personally I have gone through. It's something that my friends have gone through. And I think that the work we're doing is important. And I think that raising money is definitely a plus, but I think it's more of the conversation that really helps most people.
By the way, this is a conversation we do want to continue, so if you think there's a story we should be telling about suicide awareness, reach out to us on Facebook or email us at asknow@wcsh6.com or WLBZ2.com.
Doctors might be one step closer to detecting CTE in patients while they're still alive. Right now, the debilitating brain disease caused by repeated head trauma can only be diagnosed after death. Scientists at Boston University have discovered a possible biomarker in the brains of former football players. Now, the research is still early, but it raises the possibility that doctors will someday be able to diagnose and treat CTE before a patient has died.
That would be very helpful.
Nice? Yeah.
Right. Hello.
All right, so this is it for a little while for the heat.
Can you bring some of the cool weather that's coming into our studio
It
right
is
now?
Yeah,
sweltering
actually,
here.
Jess is sending an email.
Did the AC break again?
Yeah,
Did
just
that
sending
happen?
an email out right now. We're like, legitimately, there's heat coming out of the vents here.
There's a lot going on here. All
This
right.
is a
Don't worry about us. We'll be fine.
This is a glamorous 1950s asbestos building all the way. Yep. All right, here's a look at what's going on outside. It's a lot nicer outside. Today's high is 87 in Lewiston, 85 in Augusta. Obviously some huge temperatures here. And I got to change that, actually. That's overridden. It's in upper 70s in Millinocket. All right, we got vaulted into the #1 warmest spot all time for September as of today. And we're going to add to that with today's high. It's going to be close, though, because we'll be cool the next few days. I think we're going to end up probably at second place. Bangor at #4 here at 65.4. All right, there's Maria. There's a cold front approaching. That's going to push Maria out to sea. And as that front approaches, a couple of showers and thunderstorms tonight. I'm not overly impressed with the dynamics of this front, so I think the mountains will have the best chance at thunderstorms. And then as it goes downhill towards the coast, we'll see less and less in the way of moisture. Some of us will end up dry all through tonight as this front comes through. When the front is through tomorrow, we end up with a good looking day. It's a little breezy and it's much cooler during the afternoon. Temperatures in the 60s and then even cooler still on Friday. Look at those colors coming down on a northwest flow. Saturday looks to be the coolest day. Upper 50s, low 60s for high temperatures. That's it. And just an isolated chance of a shower on Saturday, but that'll be over extreme southern Maine. Most of us do remain dry. So hour by hour forecast, watch tomorrow. It's interesting because we start around 72, 73, and then temperatures actually go down as the day progresses because of that cooler air flowing in from the north and west. So tomorrow afternoon in the 50s in some of the higher terrain here, 57 in Millinocket, 51 in Kingfield. Saturday morning will probably be the coolest low. We'll have temperatures in the 40s widespread all the way to the coastline, a lot of 30s, and some spots will be at freezing. I'm a little concerned about that because so far the leaves have had a hard time turning because of the warmth, and we might go quickly to a freeze, which would not be ideal for foliage. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it certainly seems like this is not the best setup that you could have for fall foliage. All right, here's a look at the forecast. You know what, it's worth noting, guys, that we were catching up on that drought, and we're going to start going back in the wrong direction with that because over the next 7 days, most locations on our computer model map have under 1/10 of an inch of rain for 7 days. So beautiful for the Freiburg Fair coming up, the Cumberland Fair finishing up. But, you know, as far as rain goes, we're going to have to be probably in a similar situation to last fall where we're trying to catch up towards the end of the year. But back to around 80, by the way, by next week.
Jeez.
So.
Weird stuff. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so this is going to surprise some of you and maybe not some of you. Former Boston Celtics head coach Rick Pitino, he's in some hot water yet again, but this time it doesn't look like he'll be getting out of it. Pitino is being investigated for his role in corruption and bribery in college basketball.
He's just one suspect in a list of athletes and coaches caught up in a federal investigation. NBC's Jay Gray reports.
Can you tell us anything, Coach, about that meeting?
Hall of Fame coach Rick Pitino.
Coach, did they fire you?
Now the latest to feel the effects of an FBI dragnet targeting corruption in college basketball.
Effective immediately, Coach Pitino has been placed on an unpaid administrative leave.
Tom Jurich, Louisville's athletic director, is on paid leave as the university continues to assess the situation.
It's not a happy day for the university.
Pitino was already facing a 5-game suspension by the NCAA, and the university is serving a 4-year probation after a separate scandal involving escorts hired for parties to entice recruits to attend Louisville. Neither Pitino nor Jurich has been charged in the ongoing federal investigation, but 4 assistant or associate coaches from other universities have been arrested, allegedly involved in 2 separate but related schemes targeting student athletes and their families.
If you read the detailed allegations in the 3 complaints, totaling over 100 pages, you will find yourselves in the dark underbelly of college basketball.
6 other suspects have been charged, including the global marketing director at Adidas, which pays Pitino more than $2 million a year, part of a contract that made him the highest paid coach in college basketball. Jay Gray, NBC News.
A student athlete at Louisville is also being pulled from all NCAA activities, including practice and games, as a result of the investigation.
It's Wednesday night. That means on News Center at 6 o'clock, we'll induct a new member into the varsity club. This week, we head to Erskine Academy to catch up with senior scholar athlete Kaylee Porter, so make sure you check that out. Meanwhile, we are always looking for more kids in our state to feature, from York County to Aroostook County and everywhere in between. If you know of a senior who would make a good varsity club candidate, have a coach, teacher, or school administrator send an email to varsityclub@wcsh6.com or varsityclub@wlbz2.com. A new student will be showcased each week, and at the end of the year, a $2,500 scholarship will be presented to one boy and one girl in memory of Bruce Glazier, who pioneered the feature at News Center more than 30 years ago.
All right, Cindy has a look at what's coming up in the next half hour.
Hey guys, a lot going on in politics today. All of it could have a direct effect on your family. We're going to talk with our political analyst about health care, Anthem Insurance pulling out of Maine, and the governor's dispute with certain sheriffs over immigration. Plus, the governor is not done with Bangor yet. Despite pushback, he says he is still considering the Queen City as a location for a new psychiatric hospital. We're going to have all of that and more coming up at 5:30. Back to you guys.
All right, Cindy, thank you very much. News Center now continues with some brain drops after the break.
Today's brain drops. Before we begin, there are a few things people hate more than spoilers. And this isn't really a spoiler, but if you're not caught up on Game of Thrones, which you should be because it ended like a month ago, but if you're not, turn it off because I'm about to spoil some stuff for you.
You've been warned.
Okay?
All right.
Just saying.
We good? All right. Let's roll it.
Oh my gosh.
So this guy that everybody knows, he's actually in Portland tonight. And he is an astrophysicist. He is a very interesting guy, does a lot of talk about not only physics, but the cosmos. He's actually in Portland tonight. But he had these interesting tweets. He goes through movies and figures out the physics of whether or not these things could have actually happened. And so in Game of Thrones, there's a dragon that's killed. The dragon ends up in ice, and they raise it from the lake using these chains with all these zombies, okay? And his problem is not that this is a dragon or zombies, it's that you couldn't pull the animal out of the lake with the chains being bent and it going uphill, right? Because the whole pulley version of this, everything would have to be taut, the chain would have to be taut, and you couldn't go up a hill. You could go down a hill, but you couldn't go up one. Think how a pulley works. So that was his problem with that. But he liked the physics of the dragon because the dragon, he said, had an appropriate size wingspan for the body weight that it would require for flight. And then he used the example of mythical angels. Their wings would be way too small for their body weight. So it's tongue-in-cheek, but some of it is actually really interesting.
So he knows the show's fake, right?
He knows.
Okay.
Follow him.
Neil deGrasse Tyson clearly
Follow him
knows
on Twitter.
zombies are real and dragons are real.
He's my 99. Follow him on Twitter. He's very interesting.
He's the 99th person that you follow back?
Yes.
Oh.
But that I follow. He doesn't follow
I
me.
wish we had more time to talk about that, said nobody.
You're in.
The News Center
You're
at
both
5:30 starts right now.